not gonna mess with it. Hello, everyone. We're live.
Hey,
Hey.
we're fashionably late. I'm really good at being fashionably
He's
late.
very like he's elite at being fashionably late. Elite.
It's just building up an atmosphere, it's like a gig when you're waiting for the main act to come out. You've had your warm-up act of great discussions in the chat already.
Where
Yeah.
I posed as you, of course.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
So,
a face-off thing, you know. So I was you, you know. Yeah. So Matty's sick a little bit. He's a wee bit sick at the moment, so it might
why okay,
mostly.
here's the thing. Why do
Mhm.
Americans say sick when I have not vomited? What is that?
All right. So what would you say? Ill?
Ill,
You've fallen ill.
has the man flu,
The man flu. All right.
hasn't been to sleep
Mm-hmm.
enough,
Yeah.
has
Well, no
a
time to sleep,
trip to
Matty.
Germany catching up on him.
Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is you went to Germany and you fell ill from your trip to Germany,
No,
and now
I don't
you've brought a deadly virus into the UK.
no, and I think actually, Ty, that could spark a diplomatic incident. And Germany and Britain, we've been friends for quite a while. We should not undo that work,
It's true.
Other than Brexit probably hasn't helped things, but we don't need to get into that. Save that for the political podcast coming to Political Overload.
The Brexit overload.
Wow.
Yeah.
Brexit Overload sounds like a cereal.
Okay. Yeah, like a very like sugary cereal.
Yes.
It also kind of
Yes.
sounds like an energy drink.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
Brexit
you got your
Overload.
you got your Red Bull, you got your Monster, but here's Brexit overload. What's the most popular energy drink you would say in the UK?
That is a great question.
Are energy drinks actually popular in the
Yes.
UK? Okay.
Yes. Now, I do not consume energy drinks. However, they are popular in the UK. Now, I think Red Bull does a good job, being out there. And I am occasionally, very occasionally, if we're being completely degenerate, occasionally I'll have a Red Bull vodka. Now,
Hey, I did that on Saturday.
just on a random Saturday, huh? You're just like, why not?
Well, no. Remember, I went to my friend's birthday.
Oh yeah,
and I had Red Bull vodkas because I was like, I don't want to
nice.
spend a lot of money,
That is
and
an
this is going to
elite
be
drink.
very cheap.
Yes, that is
It
a great and the thing that you can do in North America is you can get Red Bull cranberry. Now that's not available in the UK to my knowledge, not at least at any old bar. But yeah, Red Bull cranberry with vodka is and obviously ice. That is a fantastic drink. However, in the UK, I'd say Monster Energy is probably the biggest. Although we have a comment saying Rockstar. I don't know if that comment is from someone from the UK as well. Again, I prefer just coffee to an energy drink. But my soccer team, Newcastle United, they signed a deal with an energy drink supplier, Monster Energy. So there you go.
Well, there you go. How is Newcastle doing?
They're doing great. Like
Newcastle overload.
It's like if the Seattle Mariners got purchased by a highly questionable, like the most questionable owners ever, and then went to the World Series. Yeah.
I mean, the Mariners have a pretty questionable owner, so I can kind of relate.
Is it the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund?
Well, no, it is not that. It is not that. No.
Right.
But it is an old white. It is an old white, so.
Yeah. That's like most American sports owners, right?
Yeah. He does own like all the cell phone towers in Washington.
That's amazing. So if you were to do a nasty tweet about the Mariners, just Get down the cell phones. No more tweeting.
Yeah, no more cell phones, no more Twitter, none of that. None of that. You can't say anything bad about the Seattle Mariners, or we will
Man.
destroy the entire infrastructure of the internet.
That will come soon. Okay, right, let's
Yeah.
do the intro.
All right.
I don't think it's going to help my throat, really.
Did you do your honey and lemon and all that?
Yeah. It didn't work.
Yeah,
I mean, it
okay.
kind of did for like a brief period, but yeah.
Second question: did you try thinking about not being sick?
Oh yeah, true. You know
Because you
what?
recommended that to me, and it actually kind of worked. So
I'm gonna do that now.
all right,
Positive thinking. Right.
visualize. Still 53 and a third, 100 yards.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Welcome to the Seattle Overload podcast, and it is the Week 11 news roundup and chat with Matty, that's me, and Ty.
That's me.
Wow, Ty, you're really zinging off my zangy high notes there with a nice bass.
We're contrasting. We're contrasting.
Yes, Ty, we
Hi,
have
Matty.
a Pete Carroll press conference to react to. Very exciting. We have the return of a 2021 Seahawks star to the roster, which that doesn't often happen in midseason, but it's happening, so that's cool. We have kind of Seahawky bye week stuff to deal with. And we also have an update on a very relevant, very promising for the Seahawks perspective team in the AFC West.
Who could that be? I surely wonder. I guess I'll just have to wait until the end of this episode to find out.
Yeah, it's not the Raiders, even though they are Seattle's next opponent. Damn it, I spoiled it, Ty. I'm still getting used to teasers. Yes, Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes, who rivals Geno Smith in the MVP conversation. Yes.
That is true.
Yes.
That is true. And that race, of course, will be decided in week 16 when those two teams meet on Christmas Eve at Arrowhead Stadium on Fox. Is it on Fox? I don't know. Whatever.
I mean, it's got to be on Fox. Probably. It's the two top quarterbacks in the league. Like,
yeah, of course. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
America's game of the week.
Yes. Although
it's a Saturday game. Yeah.
Oh, it is?
It's a Saturday. Yeah, it's on Christmas Eve.
Oh, they're doing that delinquency.
It's probably, I would say, though, that game probably has the best chance of any remaining Seahawks game to get flexed into Sunday night, because that Sunday night game is Bucks Cardinals.
Oof.
Yeah. So if the Seahawks keep on winning,
that would ruin Christmas, huh?
Yeah.
That actually would ruin my Christmas. It would be a very messy overload if that was happening.
Father Christmas would be very disappointed.
Thank you for code switching there. I know you really wanted to say Santa, but we don't say that ever. We will not be Americanized. It is Father Christmas. Daddy C. There you go. I think the 49ers game would get flexed, right, as well, potentially. Like,
it's a Thursday night game, though. So I think it's off limits.
It is off limits.
Yeah.
Look at me, sucker. I don't even know the Seahawks schedule.
That's a no-no. That's a no-no. And how could you not know the Seahawks schedule when you are a credentialed Seahawks beat reporter, Matty?
It's true.
Shoot. I heard you in the walls of the VMAC on what was it, Tuesday? Yeah, yesterday morning. And you said, well, first of all, the what's the name of the PR guy that's like Matty F. Brown? What's that guy's name?
I think that's Dave Pearson.
Okay. So
it sounded like Dave.
When he goes Matty F. Brown,
yes,
Pete's face like lit up and he's like, "Hey Matty, what's up, man? You traveled." And you're just like, "Oh, cool as shit." You're like, "What's up, Pete?" No big deal.
Good. That came across cool because I was surprised that Pete said you traveled, and then I thought I kind of awkwardly stumbled around that point, which was like, a funny joke. But what was bigger to me was his response to my questions.
Mm-hmm.
As much as it's nice that Coach Carroll to some, Pete. As much as it was nice that he said he traveled, and that's funny. And yeah, I would like to make it out to Seattle, but
Mhm.
and I'm sure I will at some point. We could have an overload live from the VMAC, but
Ooh.
or at least live from Seattle, maybe a coffee shop or something. Do you
By
use
the
the
way,
term
whenever
cafe?
it depends on if the place is actually referred to as a cafe. Like
Right,
if
it's
it's
all a
in the
branding
name.
thing.
Yeah, if
Right.
it's like in the name, I'll call it a cafe.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm not subscribed to one or the other,
I
to
get
answer
it.
your
You're
question, Matty.
laissez-faire on the
Yeah,
cafe
yeah. I'm
deal.
just
Yeah.
coffee shop, cafe, restaurant. If you just want to go that simple with it, I don't
Diner.
care. I'm down. Yeah, diner, all that, all
Mhm.
that. So his answer to your question, Matty, what was it?
W Well, he basically got into the Jordan Brooks bust.
Hmm.
I just asked him about match coverage and if that's a bit more difficult than the past system and how they run things. And he was saying about how on the touchdown pass, that's kind of what happened because you're kind of playing man to man coverage. And then people had their backs turned, and then it just takes one person to mess up with it when everyone else is sort of manned up for it to be a touchdown, which is what happened on the Julio Jones crossing route. And then when I asked him like if that's what he meant, I followed up. I asked him if that's what he meant by sort of needing to learn the scheme a bit more. Um, he was saying he referenced that crossing route again, and he said, "I'm going to give you that crossing route, and you're going to take it, and I'm going to do something else." Which is
Hmm.
basically Woolen gave the crossing route to Brooks. Brooks didn't take it in time, didn't trust Woolen was going to take his player basically, and you get Jones walking in for 31 yards, looking like his kind of week one speed and self, Tom Brady
Hmm.
diet, all that stuff. So
Hmm.
that was cool. And then Pete mentioned also Ed Donatel's work in Minnesota and how they're playing a lot cleaner. And they played a great game against Buffalo and the week before as well. And I'll have to, I mean, the bye week's an opportunity. I'm sure when I traveled on my vacation, my significant other will not mind if I boot up some Minnesota Vikings film while traveling, or maybe she will. But anyway, we'll deal.
You
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
you should have her break it down.
Yes, yes, that's
We
content.
we
That
should
is.
we should get your significant other here on the show actually to break down film with you.
Yes, yes. That she came up with it's called the cupcake, where there's these two crossing routes and they cross over and they form a cupcake. And I was like,
Like a
oh yeah,
cupcake.
no, that's already a thing. It's called like Spear. The Seahawks run it as their man coverage beater. So it's quite a clever
Mhm.
idea, but
Yeah.
it's already been done. So
So you're basically dating Shane Waldron, is what you're saying.
yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, you're
Okay.
trying to keep that under wraps, but
Mhm.
and then
So.
the other Pete comment, Ty.
Mhm. He needs water. He's dying. Someone get
We'll
this
see how
man
long
some
this
water.
lasts. So the other Pete comment, I asked him about the 4-man front, and he
Mhm.
basically said what we've been saying about how this is more about rushing the passer, um, and
Mhm.
how they've had really good success in the 5-man fronts, but the 4-man stuff, there's different angles, it's sometimes tougher angles, tougher secondary force coming in, which is what we've said. But it's cool that, you know, hey, you know what? Griff and I, we're not always wrong. Like
There
we
you go.
kind of know kind of where we're going with that. So
Yeah.
that's cool.
I can understand that. I got proven right today with the
Oh
trade the
yeah,
Mariners made. So
yeah, yeah. There we go.
I'm feeling myself. I you should feel yourself a little bit here too.
Oh
You're
yeah,
right.
put your sauce on the table, Ty.
Yeah,
There we
yeah.
go.
Here, pat yourself on the back. Come on, do it with me. Do it with me. There you go.
Oh, I feel so good. Oh,
There you go. Oh,
now I
I
feel
feel
so much
great.
better.
Yeah.
Yep, yep, yep.
Yep.
And also
S-
he mentioned was asked about Brian Monet, and then said I know Matty something along the lines of like I know Matty wanted to ask that, which I don't know how he knew that because I did, but I did tweet about Monet, so maybe he's maybe he's following the timeline.
Mhm.
There's no other way. There's no other way.
You got to go through your follower list and
Yeah, there's like a I know.
Some burner. in there.
Mysterious burner.
Yeah, no. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's my account. Ooh,
Oh,
that'd be
wow.
a twist.
There we
That'd be
go.
a twist. Sometimes I
Well,
feel
yeah.
like I do speak in Pete-isms. Like when I,
You
especially
think?
when I yeah, like when I don't know what to say, like cuz like sometimes like when he doesn't know what to say when he's trying to work around a question, like he just kind of like says a bunch of stuff, word vomit a
Yep.
little bit.
Word
But
vomit.
he has
Yep.
like his own special style of word vomit. It's very
He
unique to
does.
him.
It's
Yeah.
accomplished. Yeah.
Yeah, cuz he has all of
Very
his like
Southern Californian.
yeah, he has all of his like, unique phrases and stuff. His Pete talk, right? So,
Yeah.
what else from Pete's presser, if anything, caught your attention?
Well, that was pretty much it. I mean, I guess the Monet thing and then the four-man front thing, again, they, sorry, I'm distracted by the comment. Someone said I look 5'5". That is so rude. I've seen you before in the comments. You were the one who said I look like Justin Bieber as well. So I've got my eye on you.
Oh,
I can in this chat I can put you in timeout, and I will
is
use that power.
is this the same person that called you a tea and crumpets motherfucker on the Giants podcast?
I don't think so, but they could have multiple burners. I'm actually
That's true.
5'10". If you compare the images that came out of Germany, I am
Mhm.
taller than the other beat writers. We don't need to go. We don't need to name names here, but
Mhm.
yeah, the rudeness has been noted again. I say that's 2 strikes. Yeah, there we go. Why does Matty look 6'6"? Exactly right, Drew. I agree. Um, anyway, back to my point. So Monet and Monet was mentioned, and so was the four-man front basically. And as was said in the locker room to me by various players, as was said by Pete, they didn't expect
Mhm.
the Buccaneers to come out and run the ball so much. They did change up a lot of their tendencies, and that kind of led into them getting run on a bit, and he kind of basically said that they got the Monet decision wrong, which I mean, it's pretty obvious they did. So, and
I'm sorry, I keep on laughing at the comments. Maddie, you look super tall and old and jacked.
I just love it. It's positive reinforcement. It's very nice. So do all the people in the
I don't
positive
mean to
comments.
laugh because it's accurate. It's accurate. It's
Right,
accurate. I don't,
exactly,
it's
exactly.
not funny. It's facts. It's facts.
No, it is, yeah, it's obviously
Yeah,
true.
yeah. Sorry,
And
this is a serious
I'm a
matter. I
very
need to.
sensitive guy, so it does mean a lot to me when people say that because otherwise it would really upset me.
Why is
Um,
Ty wearing a Ducks hat? I don't know. I like the colors. I have a jacket that matches this color, and I
yeah,
was
that's
like,
questionable actually. What's that about?
I don't
Anaheim?
know. Yeah, but I mean, like, this is their old, Mighty Ducks, right? Everyone loves the Mighty Ducks, right? The movie Mighty Ducks. Come on,
Hmm.
no. Hmm.
No, yeah, no, I get it. Like it's
What
kind
what
of like Mariners
what's your
colors
favorite?
as well.
What's your favorite sports movie, Maddie?
This is such a bad answer, but
Hmm.
I like Moneyball.
Yes, yes,
But
yes, Maddie.
I know that's upsetting to actual baseball stands because
I
it's
like
not really that accurate.
I
Like
like Moneyball.
it leaves out a lot about the really good pitching they had, right?
Yeah, no, it does leave out a lot, but I do really like Moneyball. It's a good
There we
movie.
go.
I
And
enjoy Moneyball.
I like the cute stuff with his daughter and her song and the
Yeah,
guitar and Brad
yeah,
Pitt, Jonah
yeah,
Hill. And,
yeah,
okay, there we go. So it's a good
yeah, yeah.
answer.
Yeah, no,
And
dude, Moneyball is mine too. That's
And
awesome.
oh, nice. There we go.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
the
yeah.
one you won't have seen is a film called, and this is like not a good film. Like, it's objectively
Okay,
bad. But two
okay.
soccer films, right? One is
Mhm.
called Mike Bassett, England Football Manager, which is
Okay.
like English soccer history. Like you have to watch that. It's a funny film. Like if you like Ted Lasso, that's like Ted Lasso, but like actually
Mhm,
English and not like Americanized. And
mhm.
then I reckon Ted Lasso borrowed a lot of ideas from that film. And then the other film is called Goal, which is really cool because it's about a player from Mexico who signs for Newcastle, which is my soccer team.
Oh,
And
oh,
it's all in like the Newcastle kit. And it as a kid, that was really cool because I was like, oh my god, like my
right.
team is not as popular as other teams, but look at this. Santiago Munoz playing for Newcastle, which
Dude, when I
is
was a
awesome.
kid, I got excited about my team's representation in other movies, like Frankie Muniz wearing a Seahawks hat and Agent Cody Banks, and the Sonics appearing in Like Mike. Like I was like 6, 7 years old, and I popped off. I love that. I love that. Ty needs an English accent. All right.
I don't think Ty does actually. There's so many, these comments are wild in today. It's good to
Yeah.
see.
Throw
Right,
throw
so
up the
Ty,
U. Throw up the U.
I'm
You
not
turn
throwing up the
you turn
U.
you,
I'm
you
not.
turn gang
I'm
baby.
not.
You,
I'm not doing the U today. So that
mm,
was kind of it with Pete, and as has been pointed out as well that apparently Brooks said in his presser that. Oh yeah, he did. Yeah, the Bucks were struggling with the run game, but they could easily get it
mm,
going against them, and so they did. Like we'll
mm,
deal with it in the film podcast tomorrow with Griff, but
mm.
Leftwich called a great game, changed up his tendencies, kind of threw a lot of stuff at the wall, and then Brady and those receivers were red hot on third down, completed a lot of tight window clutch throws. So, and that kind of, watching live in the press box, that was there. And then rewatching on tape, I was like, wow, he actually, that like is even tighter than it looks from my vantage point, like near the kind of 35-yard line, like 15 rows up.
Mm. By the way, so Griff said, and this is probably more for the tape pod, but Griff tweeted yesterday that he thinks even if Monet was active, he didn't think that it would have made that much big of a difference. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, partially. I think it's more about Monet would signify, like as Pete said about Monet's absence, right?
Mm,
They did that because they wanted Miles Adams, and we like what Miles Adams is, but the inclusion of Adams with the exclusion of Monet implies, as it transpired last Sunday, it implies that they're going to be running more four down fronts and they're expecting the pass, and they're not going to be running more five down fronts where they're expecting kind of the run to defend the run. And so, yeah, they had issues in the 5-man fronts as well, and Leftwich found good beaters for that. But I still think if they'd come in and plan to run a bit more 5-man fronts, they'd have done a bit better. But like, I agree with what Griff is saying. Ultimately, like it's not we're not far apart. I think he'd probably agree with what I was saying as well.
mhm.
Let's say he did. He's not here, so like he did agree. He said
Yeah,
great
yeah,
point as well. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You said, Matty, you're very smart and you look super tall and old and jacked.
Yeah.
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 Trey Brown. We've talked about him a lot on these news roundups and chats, and we've talked about how they'll re-implement him into everything. But he's officially been activated. He's been added to the active roster. So I'm going to ask you again, just to remind folks that maybe haven't listened to past episodes. How do you think the Seahawks are going to re-inject Trey Brown into everything they got going on?
Well, what I saw at Sassenerstrasse, Sabenerstrasse, I should get the pronunciation correct of Bayern Munich's practice facility. But
Mm.
what I saw in the 2 days of Seahawks practice, it's Sabenerstrasse, I believe, was
So wait, does
Brown.
Bayern Munich have two practice
Yes,
facilities?
yes.
Okay, so
They literally called FC Hollywood. Because they buy all the stars, they have the most money,
mhm,
they are just the most successful team by far. They're just incredibly good. So the Seahawks trained at Sabenerstrasse, kind of like Nick Saban, I thought. And then
mhm,
the Buccaneers trained at the FC Bayern campus, which is where all the youth teams play. But FC Bayern's campus also has a stadium, which is where the women's team plays. So it's actually like a bigger, which is the campus, right? So it's like
mhm.
everyone from I think 8 years old until they turn like 19 plays there, along with the women's teams. So it's massive there, and like the Brady press conference had 500 people in it basically in this bar, which was serving beer and like hot
Okay,
food.
So I was gonna ask you. I was like, yeah, that looks like a bar. Like, where were you? So it was
Yeah,
actually a
that
bar.
was a bar where I believe like youth teams celebrate their victories, but also probably the women's team. And I think it's
Hmm.
for like long term, like maybe Bayern Munich season ticket holders or something. Like German
Gotcha.
fan culture is pretty good. Whereas the Seahawks one was in a cafe, which was perfectly nice, but we got like tea and cake, and there was like 10 people in even like Geno Smith's press conference, which was great for
Hmm.
me because I got to ask, multiple questions rather than
Yeah.
like I didn't get to ask Brady a question, and to get Chris Godwin a question, I had to like climb over chairs and like a mosh pit of people, probably elbowed someone. So sorry if I did. And yeah, that was crowded and busy, and the security was great. Like the Seahawks, that I didn't even see a security guard. The Buccaneers thing, there was like 50 armed police,
Mm, wow.
so or polizi. But anyway, Ty,
Hmm.
we've become
Let's
distracted again.
let's U-turn back
Yeah,
to Trey
U-turn
Brown.
successful.
Yep.
So, but anyway, when we were at the Bayern Munich facility, Brown was getting a lot of work along with Joey Blunt, who was making his way back from his injury. I think it was a hamstring, groin, anyway,
Hmm.
calf, some sort of soft tissue thing. But Brown was getting a lot of work as a gunner and then a corner on punt coverage and punt return. And so that implies, I think, that's where he'll work in. He's got speed. They lost Gillespie, who was contributing on special teams. They kind of need. They're not the same type of player, but they need the special teamers to step up. Obviously, Mike Jackson, until he like loses that left cornerback job, and he had another solid week against the Buccaneers. He didn't get beat deep. Like he was tight to routes underneath. There was one play where he had a bit too much cushion, but I think that was from more like them trying to disguise a bit. But he made short tackles. There's a harsh defensive pass interference play where if he doesn't break on the ball and he arrives slightly early, but if he doesn't make that break, then the ball's caught anyway. So it's kind of that tough world of being a defensive back. But he's doing well. So Brown working on the special teams. If Jackson gets hurt or slips up, then you maybe give him some left corner work. But it would feel harsh to get
Yeah.
Jackson out of the picture. He's already won like 2 competitions against Artie Burns, against Sidney Jones. Jones now cut and signed with the Raiders, right? So surely, Brown's just like a really good special teamer. Although, will they test Jackson a third time? The NFL is tough, but
Yeah. I mean, always compete, all that good stuff. So probably there's probably going to be an ongoing competition there, and Jackson's kind of got to look over his shoulder, even though that he's been, I mean, he's done everything they've asked of him. Um, but yeah, I think it would be good just to like, because they don't need him, right? They don't need Trey to play right now. So like, just let him kind of get his feet back underneath him. Let him play some special teams, and just see how he responds to that. See how he responds to that workload. HB is asking here, can Trey play slot? What do you think, Matty?
well, he did a bit of that at Oklahoma, and he obviously has
Hmm.
the kind of up and down speed, although not quite the agility that maybe you'd look for there. What I would say though is Pete has raved about Kobe Bryant in a way that he's like rarely raves about a player. Like he said to me on, I think it was last Friday, that like Bryant's going to be one of the best nickels in the league. Like they love what they get out of him, and then like that feels less likely than Trey just working back in at left corner again. Like,
Yeah.
and yeah, I don't think he's necessarily a nickel. Now, I see it mentioned about dime with Trey Brown. Again, they kind of prefer like having a third safety type there because that actually offers more coverage versatility and then blitz looks and stuff. It is, and then it's slightly sounder if they do run the ball. I think Seattle really is very much a fan of the 3 safety packages, but then that's a way to work Trey Brown on the field, right? So maybe we'll see it. It seems very matchup specific, whereas the 3 safety dime look, that's something you can do against pretty much anyone if you're in the right situation.
Yeah, I can't even think of a situation where you would need that extra corner over the extra safety, where you would basically replace, Josh Jones or Ryan Neal with Trey Brown. Like I just Yeah, there isn't a team that is really like that talented at wideout where you would need that speed, that extra speed. So I don't know if that would actually happen, if that would actually work. But maybe if they're really desperate to get him actual defensive snaps, maybe that's something they do because I mean, again, they're not going to take snaps away from Tariq or Mike Jack. So, and I don't really think that they're going to take snaps away from Kobe because Kobe, even though that there's still like some things that he's working through, he's mostly performed, right? So I don't think they want to take him off of that spot either. So I don't know. Again, just circling back here, I think it's good to just let him get the special teams reps, see what happens the rest of the year. Injuries might crop up, all that, knock on wood. And maybe he gets an opportunity that way. But it's a patella tendon injury. That's a really serious injury to recover from. And if all he does this year is just play special teams and then gets a chance to compete for a spot on the defense next year, then so be it. And I think you're fine with that, and I think you can live with that if you're Seattle.
Yeah, agreed. And again, yeah, to reiterate, it's so great that he's able to recover to this stage. Like the trainers were taking it cautious with him, slowly increasing the workload. But the fact he's back and he's on the roster, he's obviously shown them that he can still move around, which is always a question mark coming off like this bad an injury. I mean, that's massive. So good for him
Mhm.
because it must have been tough. Like it must have been a really tough process, not after you've come into the league and you've played so well in that action that we saw to then go through this rehab process. Yeah, that's the kind of part of being an NFL player that I think as mere fans or onlookers, we don't get to. We have no real comprehension of that unless you've been an athlete,
Mhm. Yeah. Um, so before we talk about a certain team in the AFC West, before we talk
Mhm.
about that, I want you to take us a little bit behind the scenes, as much as you want to, or as little as you want to, about what it's like, what the process is like of being a credentialed NFL reporter on game day. What was your game day experience like? Getting to the stadium, writing, all that stuff.
Well, it was great. It was great. I missed the bus that had been organized to take reporters there because I had been out the night before. I got
Mhm.
invited to the German Seahawkers party, which was very kind of them. As a member of the press, got to meet Felix, who is their chairman, and meet some other great guys there. Who, I mean, what they've got on like is amazing. Like it's a huge fan club, and the
Yeah.
party was crazy. It was
Dude, it
crazy.
looked it
It was
looked
in this
crazy.
it was in a they call it like a brew house, but like a pub, like a
Mhm.
bar where it's the beer of the brewery and very
Mhm.
nice beer, nice food, and then just unbelievable scenes. And good to put faces to names. Anyway, that meant I was uh at the party ended late. So I decided
Mhm.
I'd have an extra hour in bed, missed the bus. So I got the metro in
Mhm.
to the stadium, which the U Bahn, not U turn, which Griff tried to do. U
Mhm.
Bahn is very uh, good, but it was absolutely rammed, so crowded, it's like so many fans.
Mhm.
Which I mean, that makes sense, right? But this was
Yeah.
like this was like 4 hours before the game,
Mm.
so people were really going to kind of. I mean, the
They were doing
tailgate
the
scene.
tailgating, yeah, tailgating and all that
Well, that
stuff, yeah.
doesn't really exist in Europe, but I think they tried to make it happen. I don't really know, obviously, what happened, but it's cool
Mhm.
that they were all just sort of gathering. So anyway, then the security process was great. I met Uchenna Nwosuy's parents, who were very nice, and the his dad was wearing a bright green Uchenna jersey. I was wondered how many people have that cooler
Mhm.
jersey, like the on field kind of edition. I was like, that is
Yeah.
clean. And
That's
then
sick.
I was like, because anyway, so that was cool.
Yeah.
Um,
So wait, did you approach them? Were you like, "Oh, that's probably Chenna's parents. Let me
so
see
I
what's
went
up?"
to no, I went to pick up my ticket, and then they were after me asking about how to pick up tickets for players, families.
Mm. Mm.
So
Okay.
there you go.
Nice.
Um, and then yeah, got into the stadium. And the press box there is awesome because often, like when I was at the Senior Bowl, you're inside, you're very much sheltered away from the fans. You're like in this, vacuumed cubicle, sealed off from
It's
the
quite
outside world.
literally a press box. Yeah.
Whereas this is like outside. There's literally in front fans standing up drinking beer, like getting in the way. Like you can really soak up the atmosphere, and the
Hmm.
seating position was amazing. Like
That's sick.
it doesn't, how cameras warp perspective, but it really does. You were really close, and before we were allowed on the field as well before the game, which is very cool. And I got to see. I tweeted a video of it, but Aaron Curry warming up the edge rushers.
Yep, he's dying again.
Nate Carroll, and Sanjay Lau warming up their players as well.
Mhm.
So super cool. And
So
then,
what was the field like when you stepped on it?
well, it was on the edge. It was really, really thin and patchy
Mm,
and not good.
mhm.
And I was like, this is soft, like soft ground. But then the actual field looked a bit thicker, but it's
Okay.
still soft ground. And it's like I was saying to Griff, like I think you needed like soccer cleats with like a stud, which
Yeah.
don't exist in American football because it's always played on like harder surfaces.
Yeah.
And so I just don't think they had the footwork, and that I think that affected both teams. Like watching the tape of the pass rush back, but also the tape, also the live game in the stadium. They
Mhm.
weren't quite getting off the ball and being able to plant at the top of their rush, like because they were worried about slipping. And a lot of
Mhm.
people did end up on the floor, especially on
Yeah.
special teams where you don't really have a choice. Like you have to make a cut. Like
Yeah.
so, I don't like either change your footwear, like buy soccer cleats, all rock like Jason Myers, or do what Tottenham Hotspur do, where they literally change the field like Arizona Cardinal style, and they
Mhm.
ship in a hard surface.
Right. So back to your experience. So you were on the field, got to see everyone warming up. What after that?
Well, then the kickoff and the cheer for Brady was a lot louder than the cheer for Gino. Although well, in the Seahawks, but I'd say
Mhm.
I think people, they're obviously keen to see Tom Brady out there. That he's
Right.
a big
Yeah.
attraction.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Tom Brady, obviously. Yeah. So, that's going to be the thing, right? That's why there's 50 armed, people at the
Yes,
at the press conference and all that. Yeah. So,
yes. Um, and I'd say like both fans were loud. It was a really good atmosphere,
mhm.
and obviously like Pete Carroll himself, he's like blown away that they all managed to sing a song at the same time. It's like, yes, this is what happens in Europe. People sing in unison. They don't need someone to hold up a sign going louder or
Yeah.
let's go
Yeah.
Seahawks. Like
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
can just do it without choreography. Like it's pretty cool.
Broncos
Anyway,
country. Let's ride. Let's ride.
yes, yeah, there
Let's
you go.
ride. Come on, get loud. Get loud, people. Get loud.
But I did find that quite obviously I take that for granted as a European, but
Sure.
I find that cool how cool that Pete Carroll and the Seahawks players found that. I mean
Yeah.
that's great that they were so into that.
Well, that's saying something considering that, the Seahawks have one of the greatest atmospheres in all of North American sports. And, for them to be blown away by an atmosphere at another stadium, that's saying something.
Yeah, no
So,
doubt, no doubt.
all right, so game happens, you have great seats, all that stuff, which is awesome. Like the pictures from your seat were incredible. That looked great. So then what happens? Game ends. Or well, rather, what are you doing at halftime? Are you just chilling, just chatting it up with folks? Like, what are you getting up
A
to?
tiny bit. I went and got a coffee.
Okay.
Went to the toilet.
Hmm.
Real good detail there.
We're
And
we're
I
we're
got
getting the full play by play here,
uh-huh.
folks.
And
Yeah.
then I got cake. They had cake. It was
Ooh.
the food was pretty good.
So you had coffee and cake, and it was really
Yeah, which
cold,
is
right?
very German, by the way.
What was it outside, like, degree-wise, temperature-wise?
I don't know, but it's freezing, and that's one
Yeah.
thing. On the like Thursday, Friday, Wednesday, it wasn't that cold, but
Mhm.
Saturday, Sunday, it became absolutely freezing, and then Monday it warmed up again.
Mm.
But I needed another layer.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, it looked really cold. I think I saw, like, people's breath and stuff like that on the broadcast at times. Um, so then post game. So you go to the locker room, right? You ended up missing Pete's presser. Did you miss all the pressers?
No, I missed
Okay.
Pete's, and then I'd already spoke to Conjay, so when he was up at the podium, I didn't really have anything to ask him, and then I asked Gino a question.
Okay.
But yeah, I missed Pete, which was a shame. But then good that I was able to zoom in thanks to the Seahawks PR.
Yeah. So people, I think there was a question earlier on before we, or right as we started up here, that was asking about that and if you're going to be doing that more and how that came about. So can you explain that a little bit? How you were there on Tuesday?
Oh yeah, the Seahawks PR was just like, "Hey, would you be interested as soon as you went to the Germany game?" And I've
Mhm.
asked if I can join them in the future via Zoom. I know that may not be possible if it's an in-person presser, but Pete does do, especially after road games, like his Monday or Tuesday presser on Zoom. So hopefully in the future I will be able to join. And also I will have to make it out to Seattle. But
Mhm.
the Seahawks PR, like you hear about how Seattle is a first class organization for like players and how they do everything right from a front office perspective as well, at least 99% of the time, right?
Mhm.
And that translates to like the PR team and like the way the process that I had with them was just amazing. So a big thanks to them as well.
That's like, all right. The is it time? Is it time, Matty? Is it time to talk about him? The number
Them, Ty,
them,
them.
them, 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 them. Not just him, it's a team. It's a team. That's right. It's a
Yes.
team. It's not just one guy. There's no I in team. Last time I checked. It's a full 53-man squad plus practice squad plus injured reserve plus coaching staff plus front office people plus owners plus ticket
Walmart.
people, all of them. Yeah, Walmart. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Walmart. Yeah. The Denver Broncos folks, they have lost again. They're what now? 3-6? Am I right?
Yes,
Three and
they're
six.
3-6, and the Seahawks are penciled in to have the number 7 draft pick at the moment.
That would be nice. But Maddie, looking at their schedule coming up and considering that they I mean, like, they have the Raiders and the Panthers the next 2 games, but after that it
Which,
gets
by the
pretty.
way, Hackett said, Hackett's gone like full. This is bad. He's like just being fully honest.
Yeah.
He's like, one of us has to win. Like we're both bad teams. One of us has to win.
So
So
they're
it'll be a
definitely
tie.
going, yeah, they're definitely going to tie on Sunday after that comment. All right, so then the Broncos are gonna be 3-6-1. And Maddie, I think that the Seahawks might end up picking even higher than number 7 when this is all said and done, considering the
Well,
way things are going right
well,
now.
yeah, because then after like you've got 2-7 Raiders, then 3-7 at Panthers, and then
Yeah.
it's Ravens, Chiefs, Cardinals, Rams, Chiefs, Chargers, which is, I mean,
Yeah.
all of those teams are at their best very tough tests. So,
Yeah.
and they lose 17-10 to a Titans team whose defense especially is playing great football.
Mhm.
Wilson's 21 for 42, 286 yards, one touchdown, one interception, and there was just that really rough fourth down play. It's just obviously not working well for them, and kind of
Yeah.
like a lost season. Jerry Judy gets hurt, KJ
Yep.
Hamler's hurt.
Yeah.
They've obviously got injured offensive line.
Yep.
Wilson's getting hit a lot.
Billy Turner, I think, is out for the year now. So yeah.
Yeah. So, like you said, Ty, a top 10 pick, definitely, that could soon be a top 5 pick. Like, this is like bad in Denver. And that defense is playing really hard. But again, it's testament to Evero that they're still sustaining the effort. But how
Mhm.
long that can be sustained for, I don't know. It's still the NFL where ultimately it's a business. And if you're 3-6 playing for pride, there's only so much like that can be
Yeah.
sustained.
Yeah. And we talked about how like the trade of Bradley Chubb might impact, the way that guys feel there in that locker room as well. Um but yeah, this is bad, and Russ especially looks dejected. I've never seen him like this. I've never seen him like this. Like so going back to that, fourth quarter, the last drive that they had in Tennessee, before he throws the pick, he gets sacked from behind, fumbles the ball, and a Titans player landed on it, but it kind of squirted out and like it was still loose at the bottom of the pile. But Russ just kind of gave up and he's like slapping his hands, he's kind of yelling, stuff like that. And then he just walks off. He just walks off the field, and one of the linemen, I think, has to go over and be like, dude, like, we got the ball, like, come back. Like, Russ doesn't typically act that way, right? He usually is
No,
like, you know, any sliver of chance that we have to win this game, I'm, fully invested in it. And he doesn't look like he's fully invested right now. And then in that press conference afterwards, I mean, he just sounded like he sounds sadder and sadder and sadder with each press conference that he does. And I mean, it makes sense. They keep on losing, and I'm sure he's going through it right now, like they all are. But this is not the same, like, ignore the noise, there's still a chance type of, like, you gotta have amnesia type of Russ, right? This isn't that same dude. It's very clear that he's just not the same guy right now.
no, it's kind of disarming, like how quickly it's sort of unraveled, and like
Mhm.
you said, it's jarring to see Russ so unrush like you
Yeah.
know, really really weird. Along with it still being a bit weird to see him not in a Seahawks uniform.
Mhm.
And now it comes out. The leaks have already started.
Yeah.
On 92.5 FM, Altitude Sports Radio Denver. Tyler Columbus says Russ is losing his mind out there. He's using audibles from the Seahawks. The guys don't know the audibles. He's using code words that the guys don't know, which, like, okay. And then,
That's really concerning.
which again, that's like what's going on with Russ, like, and
Is he
then, and
hurt?
then,
Like, seriously, like, I'm not trying to, like, mess around here or anything. Like, is he, like, legitimately concussed or something, and, like, he shouldn't be playing right now? Like, what's going on there?
mm, and then, also apparently, Columbus heard that the first cracks in the relationship between Russ and Hackett emerged over what style of offense and what kind of offense they want to run,
We've heard this before.
like given in September, Peter King in his article uh they, for MB Sports, he wrote that Hackett and Russ had a crazy kind of relationship he wanted with his play caller and play author. And Wilson thinks it's the perfect place to spend his second half of his career there because of Hackett and his relationship. And he considers Hackett a football savant. Like,
Mhm.
it's wild how quickly that's unraveled. But then, that's what happens when you lose. Losing ain't fun, and bad things come out. That's not unique to
Well, and I'm sure
Russell or
Russ is
Hackett or
seeing
Denver.
And I'm sure Russ is seeing everything that's going on social media and everything, all the dunking on him and all that, and I'm sure that's having a legitimate impact on his mental health. Like, so,
Hmm.
yeah, I can see how that can kinda snowball really quickly into frustration and him, taking that out on guys like Nathaniel Hackett, whether that's their fault or not? So, it all makes sense, and then you pair that with the report from Benjamin Albright the other day that Russ wants Shoddy. Which is crazy because, our former coworker Corbin reported, a few months ago that Russ and his team were the ones that wanted Shoddy out of Seattle. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of conflicting info there, and it just like this is a mess, man. And I don't know if it's a matter of like, maybe he did want Shoddy out, but now he's trying to repair that bridge and you know whatever, and try to mend that relationship and get Shoddy to Denver. But like, if he also is doing that behind the scenes while Hackett is still the coach, like that's there's so much there to unpack. It's just there's no recovering from that for this particular team in 2022. And I think just considering like everything that's coming out now, just the vibes in that locker room sound awful, and that seems like something that's just going to continue to snowball and snowball and snowball until they end the season, with like 4 or 5 wins. Like that seriously seems like where they're heading, right? Like they're only going to win like 1 or 2 more games, the way that they're playing right now.
Yeah, I don't know how, the combination of the signs that the relationship's deteriorating, the leaks coming out, losing not being fun, and then obviously having injuries, which they happen league wide, but they're getting banged up in the wrong areas. I don't
Yeah.
know how they turn it around. It seems, like you said, 1 or 2 wins from here on out, and it's only just beginning, really. Like, new ownership group, they're probably still working out how to be owners in football, but would they make a change of making Hackett one and done? Are they going to wait it out? We're going to find out a lot about them and their early ownership style. I
Mhm.
think, yeah, I don't know how many wins Hackett would need to stay on. Like, how much of a say does Russell Wilson have in that when, they signed to a long term,
Yeah.
big contract with not an easy out. So,
The only thing they can do at this point is do whatever they can to fix Russ, because they can't get out of it for at least the next couple of years. So they have to do whatever they can to fix Russ, because
yeah.
otherwise every single year is going to look like this.
Yeah, and the guy who really did work out the best stuff for Russ's game was Brian Schottenheimer.
Hmm.
Now, we'll see, because that's the obvious choice. And, Ben Albright is reporting that. But yes, like you said, our former colleague Corbin Smith, like he tweeted out that Russ wanted, he had a report that Russ wanted Shotty gone
Yeah.
and fought for that. So
Yeah.
we'll find out. We'll find out. Which is, again, we've already found out that Pete was probably on the right end of his approach with Wilson.
Hmm.
Like I said, it's like we said, we'd find out a lot from Russ being in Denver, and we are doing.
Like, I don't want to get too far into hyperbole here, but I mean, if they do end up getting a top 5 pick out of this, that's the worst trade in NFL history, right?
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, it would depend on maybe next year it bounces back. Like I said,
Yeah,
this is
because
definitely like
I
the
think you should.
worst we'll see Russ.
Yeah, when we're looking at Russ's era and like tying that all into the overall trade discourse, I think we should only look at the years that he had left on his contract when he was traded. And so that's 2, right? He had 2 left. So I guess so this year and next year, that's what we basically judge that off of. And so I mean, it's not looking good whatsoever. By the way, show end of line here in the chat says, I hope they don't poach Waldron as head coach. Talking about Denver, I don't think Shane Waldron wants anything to do with that, quite frankly. And I also don't know if like Russ wants anything to do with Shane Waldron. Like, I don't know what their
No,
relationship was like. It didn't
yeah,
seem
like
like a good one,
I mean,
particularly.
supposedly Russell had a big say in Waldron becoming the he was involved in that OC hiring process post Shotty.
Hmm.
But the whole, I mean, it's been over talked about because that's the nature of the media business. But the
Right.
whole wristband thing and the suggestion that Russ wasn't always listening to what Shane Waldron wanted to do, I think that suggests there's a bit of tension between the two. Which, why do you go and be a head coach? But also, like, getting Russ back to more like his top tier self even though we've seen its peak, but getting him back to playing good football, that's
But
like a
getting him back to
monumental
just
task.
average, yeah, like you just got to get him back to average because right now he's been a bottom 6, bottom 7 quarterback this year.
Yeah, that's a huge task getting him back to that spot. So,
Yeah.
if you're a first time head coach, do you want to take that? Like some guys would love the challenge, but I think Waldron, with his experience with Russ, maybe would be a bit shy of that.
Yeah, I think it needs to be someone that's been around the block. Like it can't be a first time head coach.
Hmm.
And I mean, like Shoddy has kind of been around the block, but he hasn't been an NFL head coach, right? Like,
Yeah, Shotty's really obvious, except for Corbin's report. So
yeah. So I don't know. We'll see, I
there you
guess.
go. Well, tomorrow, Griff and I will be talking about the film from the Buccaneers game, and I think there is promising aspects. There's also really good learning moments for Seattle on both sides of the ball, and we'll deliver them to you. And then we have a bye week, so we've got a bit of a weird schedule. Maybe we'll do Sunday, Friday. Well, not Friday. England play. We'll work it out, but we'll only do. We're going to do less
Oh yeah, is the
podcasts.
World Cup is starting this weekend, right?
It is, which is also very weird because it doesn't feel like it's meant to be the World Cup right now, and
Yeah.
it's a really questionable World Cup, and the hype
Mhm.
for it is at an all-time low. But England will still
Yeah.
beat the USA, so
There
we
you
go.
But
That's
will
on
they beat
Friday.
Canada? Will they beat Canada though? That's the question.
Well, Ty, I don't think the two sides will meet, but they might. They might in the final, right?
Yeah, maybe,
There we go.
maybe. Canada will make a run, of course.
Alfonso Davis did the coin flip at the Seahawks game.
Okay, nice.
So there you go.
There you go. All right. So tape pod tomorrow. And then wait, so are we doing a show on Sunday or no?
We'll work it out and we'll tweet it out from the @Seattle Overload account, which follow please.
Okay.
Follow Ty at Dane Gonzalez. Follow me at Matty F. Brown. Please do like
Matty
the
F.
video if you're watching live. Yes. And subscribe to the channel as well. And please do comment. It helps us. And then if you're listening, 5-star review, please download, and everyone tell a friend, tell a family member to do the same because we're growing slowly and we really appreciate all of you. And Seahawks, despite losing a 6-4 first in the NFC West team who are a kind of crossroads moment in the season, and I'd back them to put together a few wins again.
All right, let's do it.